Guys,
Welcome to the Did You See That Shit Mixed Martial Arts podcast live. This is the kind of the first official one for more than one reason, right?
One, we look official as hell.
We look definitely more official if this is your first time joining us. I am Mike Straus, aka Straus21. That is Chicago's #1 underground comedian, Apollo Taje Mahal. Together we are the dynamic duo of the Did You See That Shit Mixed Martial Arts podcast. This
Fastest
is not
growing podcast out there.
This is not our official podcast. This is a weekly live stream, just kind of recapping, touching the week's MMA events, combat sports in general, but mixed martial arts heavy for sure. This is the excuse me. This is the first official one, I say, for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the setup. Woohoo!
You okay?
I'm okay. You know, I'm a smoker. I quit smoking cigarettes, but I still smoke other things for medicinal reasons. And every now and then you get a dry mouth, you know.
Yeah. So,
yeah, this is the first official for many reasons. One, the setup is official, as Paulo noted, and two, we're doing it on our official day of Tuesdays from now on. So, same time, same place.
you have no idea how hard it was for us to pick a day.
12 noon is the time. If this guy could ever get here on time, then we will have it at noon.
Hold up. One, I've been on time the last 3 times. The reason I wasn't on time today is because I'm sick, okay? So don't hold it against me.
Excuses are like assholes, and he has not been on time 3 days in a row. But either way, we are here to give you guys all the news. The big news of today is the UFC has a brand new deal, a programming deal, and it's with we all knew it was going to be with ESPN. Really, the suspense, I guess you could say, was, is it going to be solely ESPN or was it going to be a Fox kind of split deal? How that story broke earlier. Turns out ESPN gets the whole shebang. It's an ESPN Plus deal. Now, I'll explain it. Basically, this is all that's known at this time, guys, is as of January 1st of 2019, ESPN will now get 15 live events. It's ESPN Plus, so it'll air on that. If you're asking yourself, what the hell is ESPN Plus? It is ESPN's new streaming service they just launched not too long ago. It's a subscription-based service. It
doesn't really have anything on it.
Yeah, because it doesn't have much content because it is such a new service. But it's a subscription-based service, $4.99 a month, or you can do the whole year up front and save yourself $10. It's $49.99 if you do it that way. I just subscribed this morning because, well, I have to, right?
I will be subscribing today too.
But basically, the way it's going to work now is ESPN Plus is going to get 15 live events, and they're going to brand it ESPN Plus, or UFC on ESPN Plus. All the FS1 stuff will now go away. Each of the 15 events will have 12 fights, so it'll be a 12-fight card. And the new Contender Series, now don't confuse this, because the Contender Series coming up this summer is going to be on Fight Pass still, but starting next year, the new ESPN Plus programming will get the fight.
Will be on ESPN Plus?
Yeah, they will get the new Contender Series in 2019. And then also, this is very important, guys, so all the weigh-ins, the pre-post shows, the press conferences, all that content is going to be bumped to the new UFC.
Is ESPN finally going to know what they're talking about when it comes to MMA?
I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. I imagine a lot of the guys that they have in their contract already will just kind of, like you mentioned earlier before we started, like Tyron Woodley, Florian, those guys will probably just jump right into the same position there.
Brent Okamoto works for ESPN.
Yeah, he's
so now
one of the guys that reported this.
So I think he'll probably be one of like the head guys now talking about it. Yeah. You know, that's a great opportunity for him. Anyway. I know, but still, he's it always kind of felt like he was like out of the loop sometimes because he was in ESPN over Fox. I don't know. It was just like this weird thing where he was with ESPN and Fox, and I'm pretty sure Chael Sonnen's with ESPN. Or if he still is, I don't know.
I don't know, but he is a Bellator guy, so it doesn't.
He is a Bellator. I know, but he wasn't with ESPN for.
So yeah, let us know what you guys think of this, man. This is interesting. You might be asking yourself, what does this mean for Fight Pass, right? Because Fight Pass is actually a little more expensive than this. But what's going to happen with that? I guess something they noted in one of the articles was you can subscribe and still purchase pay-per-views and subscribe to Fight Pass through the new ESPN Plus app. So I don't know if they're going to do away with. It seems like
are they going to interchange them?
I don't know.
I think it would be cool if you get Fight Pass, you get ESPN Plus for free.
You would think they do something like that, but as of right now, you got to pay for Fight Pass, which is like roughly $8, $9, $10, depending on how many months you go for, and then $5. So it's right up front. It's costing you about $15 a month. It's going to be now to watch UFC programming, and that's not including any pay-per-views. So that's something to keep in mind, man.
This is it's getting steep.
It's been steep, yeah.
Yeah, I've been using other people's passwords. No.
So something that that kind of touched home yesterday, man. I was watching, as I'm sure many of you guys do, the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with Ariel Helwani. And the last guest he had of the day was Josh Emmett, a gentleman that I've spoken with several times. He's been on the show before.
Great guy.
Very cool, down to earth guy. And man, his story, just what that guy's been through since the Jeremy Stevens injury is just flat out horrific. He almost lost his eye. The hospital in Florida misdiagnosed him. If you guys didn't listen to the interview, I recommend it. Again, that's mixedmartialartsfighting.com, MMAfighting.com. Go to their YouTube channel, listen to the Josh Emmett interview. It's startling, man. It's scary. I feel for him.
You know what's scary is that is a reality for a lot of fighters, though, and especially in these smaller promotions. Like I think about it because I had a couple MMA fights. I know I don't look like it now. I'll post some pictures of when I used to be sexy. But I had a cut above my eye. If you can see on my right side, I have a cut.
Got a head. I can't see.
Oh, sorry.
I believe you. You don't have to
right
take
around
your
my eye.
off.
So I had to go get stitches put in. And the stitches were put in so terribly because I was in the most shittiest hospital you could go to for that. So imagine if I had to get real, actual surgery in some of these shitty promotions. Back in the day, they were doing MMA.
UFC is not a shitty promotion.
I'm just saying, but that's a reality for a lot of fighters who are not in the UFC as they go to these really bad hospitals. They don't have the money or the funds, and they're legit putting their life on the line to be in these cages and to live out their dream. And,
Well, what makes this even more insane is that we are talking about the UFC.
And
we're
that's
not
even
talking
sadder.
about a backwater promotion here. We're talking about the UFC. So I don't know. This is messed up. I highly encourage you guys to listen to that interview if you haven't yet. I mean, that guy, I feel for him. I don't even want to speak with him on the show right now because he's already put it out there. I'd like to have him back on maybe in a month or two, but
yeah, let him get
he's going through a lot, man. Let's get into. There's a lot of cards this weekend. Actually, the two big ones, UFC and Bellator, got something going on. So Bellator 199, Bader versus King Mo. It is the last of the first round fights for the heavyweight Grand Prix. Let's just real quickly go through the main card fights here. We can give our predictions. Fuck it, we're gonna put our predictions out for both of these cards.
I have a right to change my mind.
But yeah, of course, because we haven't done that yet. So let's go. Bader versus King Mo. Who do you like?
Bader. I'm sorry. King Mo is a tough fight for anybody. He's one of those guys that you fight. No one that you can walk over. But I thought after John Jones' fight that Bader was kind of washed. But then he started going on this winning streak after he got submitted by Tito Ortiz. And you started seeing him kind of putting it together.
Yeah.
He wasn't just an athlete anymore. He's become a fighter. And then in the Phil Davis fight, you really saw him become a fighter. Really saw him put it together with his stand-up and his wrestling. And he looks like now an overall fighter.
How do you think he beats him?
I think he keeps it on the feet. And if he needs to go to the ground, he can. But I think he keeps it on the feet and kind of and wins in the stand-up.
Him?
Yeah. Or he submits him, which I think is a very rare thing. But I think it's a decision.
I think Bader will win as well, but I don't think it's gonna go like that. I think he's gonna knock Mo out. Probably, I don't know when. I don't like to.
I think he could knock him out. I'm just saying he's going to keep it on the feet because he can dictate where the fight goes.
Yeah, I think he probably could dictate where the fight goes, but I think he's going to knock. I think he's going to knock Mo out, and I think he's going to. I don't know when he's going to do it. I don't think he'll do it in the first round, but I think he'll knock him out. I think Bader will get it done. And it's not to say that King Mo's hands are bad because I think King Mo has fantastic boxing. I actually think King Mo's boxing is better than Bader's. But I just don't think his power's there, and I don't think that Mo can take a hit like he once could. So yeah. Let's go Fitch and Daly. John Fitch is making his Bellator debut. We spoke with him yesterday. We will have that interview out in its entirety on our next episode, which will be Friday. Very cool guy, man. I'm going to go Fitch. We talked about it on our most recent episode, 22, that will be out today. We talked about this is going to be kind of a replay, we think, of the Rory MacDonald fight with Daly.
I'm going to close my eyes and just imagine John Fitch in boxing shorts. It's going to look exactly the same way as Rory MacDonald.
I think Fitch will finish him, though. I think Fitch will take him down, and Rory finished him, rear naked choke?
Yeah.
I think it was a rear naked choke. I think John Fitch will like beat him. Like just I don't know. He might submit him. But I think he's just gonna beat him.
So now
make him look bad.
I have a serious question about John Fitch, because he said he's got in listening to the interview, he's not a young guy, but it seems like he is. Mm-hmm. Like watching him fight, I honestly think he can make a huge run at that title.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. Because
170 division.
Yeah, 170, 185. I think he's flexible, and I think Bellator's gonna let him have fun there.
If he goes to 185, that whole 185 division's in trouble.
How about Czech Congo, Javi Ayala? This is pretty cool. I think this might be a heavyweight alternate.
Yeah,
but
Czech Congo knockout.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Javi Ayala there. I think. I don't think Congo's Congo anymore. Not that,
he was never Congo.
That's what I was gonna say. Even
he
Congo,
was never Congo.
Yeah, Congo in his prime wasn't anything very special.
He was what Francis and what we. So when I saw him, and this is why everybody thought he was like Francis Ngannou, even though I think Francis Ngannou's a little bit better. But he just looks like a superhero,
right? Yeah,
but gets hit and knocked out like. Mm-hmm.
He wasn't Ngannou before Ngannou was Ngannou. Like he had the look, but his skill didn't relate.
I saw him in UFC, the fight game, UFC Undisputed 2010. I immediately picked him. I was like, that dude looks like he can hit.
How about Aaron Pico against Lee Morrison?
Aaron Pico.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Pico too. I think the kid's the real deal. I mean,
that's a future star. That's a guy if he stays with Bellator, we're gonna be arguing. He is the best in the world in Bellator and in the UFC, because I think he has that kind of potential.
Yeah, he had that stumbling block, in his first fight. He's and all those guys, man, it's just done wonders for his game. So yeah, I like Pico there. How about Carrington Banks and Adam Piccolotti? I had a chance to speak with Carrington Banks a while back. We will have that episode. We will have that interview rather on our episode coming out before he fights on Saturday. Carrington's a cool guy, man. He's undefeated. He's 7-0. Fantastic, fantastic wrestling pedigree. Piccolotti, however, he's a guy that's beat Brandon Gertz, so he is capable.
Yeah. Man, this is a tough fight. I feel like
not for me. I like Carrington Banks.
I like Carrington Banks. This is a tough fight for Carrington Banks, though. I think this is really going to show us what he's truly made of, because he's facing a hell of a guy.
Yeah, Piccolotti is a decent. I don't think actually this is the hardest fight in Carrington Banks' career, so I think he'll answer that bell pretty easy. How about let's go to UFC 224 now. Amanda Nunez against Pennington.
I had no clue that this fight was even happening.
I just, you look at Raquel Pennington, and I'm not talking about looking at her physically. I'm talking about looking at her stats and her record, and I don't know. If she does most people think she won't do and win the title, I mean, her record just doesn't exemplify what a champion is to me. So I don't think she's going to beat Nunez. I just think if she does,
Michael Bisping was champ. Yeah,
Michael Bisping's record is far over 500.
Yeah. I will say this.
I'm going to say Nunez defends her title here.
This feels like Ray Borg versus Demetrius Johnson. It's just a really tough fighter who is a scrapper going against an elite of the elite fighters.
You think Nunez is elite of elite?
I honestly do. She is a beast.
Wow. Yeah, she's a beast.
She's a beast. I honestly think
I don't think she's elite of elite, but she's good.
She's one of the top in the female realm. Yes, I think she is definitely one of the elite fighters up there. Yeah. I think she would give Cyborg a run for her money. I don't think she would necessarily beat Cyborg because I think she's too small, but I think she's definitely an elite fighter. She has great jiu-jitsu.
I think she's elite too. I just don't think she's elite of elite. But, it's just semantics, I guess.
Unfortunately, the women's divisions aren't as developed as we would like. Mm-hmm. That's why we're getting a fight like this. It kind of reminds me of kind of the olden days of the welterweight division, where you would just like, all right, this champ needs to defend its title. Let's throw him somebody, Frank Trigg for the third time. You know, and not necessarily do I believe that Ken Shamrock deserved a title shot against Theo Ortiz, but he got one. This is kind of how it feels.
To me, the real fight that I want to watch on this card is the co-main event, Jacare Souza and Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah, because this is a lot of implications in the middleweight division.
Yeah, it does, but I hope Gastelum, win or lose, gets his shit together. And no disrespect, but I hope he gets down to where the UFC wants him, and I know where ultimately I think he wants to be too, and gets his stuff together and gets down to 170 because he will
wreck the world at 170.
Well, that's where he was. You know, he just couldn't get his weight under control, so they made him go up to 185. And he's, you know, to his credit, he's so good that he can hang with most of the 185ers. But you put him in there with the real elite ones, and he just can't hang. He's too small. So
he is, and we saw that against Chris Weidman.
Yeah, we sure did. And Jacare is a big dude, man. So I'm gonna go Souza, because he's just too big. I hope Gastelum, he gets his stuff together and goes back down to 170.
So I was going with Souza. I really wanted to go Jacare. But then I listened to the very tricky Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen trains with Calvin. He knows him very well. And he brought up something that was very interesting to me.
What's up?
Rules don't apply to Calvin, it seems.
What do you mean?
So, is he an elite wrestler? We would say. No, but he competes with elite wrestlers. Is he the strongest guy in the division? No, but for some reason, he's strong. Is he the fastest? No, but some reason he has great cardio. Is his boxing amazing? But no, but he can knock out boxers. For some reason, Calvin is so talented that rules do not seem to apply to him. And you've seen it time and time again where when he's on his game, he is probably the scariest dude I've ever seen, and there's no reason for him to be that dang scary.
But isn't that the case with most really good fighters, that rules don't apply to them?
No, because there's a reason for it. Like
I would argue that is true.
You know, with Kelvin Gastelum, it just seems that I look at him, I go, he should not be that good, and he just is. He should not win this, but he does. He is just a freak of nature type of guy that when you look at him, you don't understand how he's doing it, because you see him in regular life. He's just not, you know, he's not the fastest, but then all of a sudden he goes against a fast guy. He's fast. So I'm going to go with Gastelum on this fight. I hope he loses for this one reason. I hope it gets in his head that he is not a 185-pounder and he needs to go down to 170.
Well, I think he knows that, and I think win or lose, I think that's where he's going to end up.
Hey, you should do what I'm doing. Weight Watchers, man. I'm going to my meeting after this.
There you go. How about Mackenzie Dern against Amanda Cooper? This, I think, is, a lot's been said about this fight, and Mackenzie Dern, is she or is she not getting this fight too soon? She just had her first fight in the UFC. She looked good. She won. She did what she was supposed to do. This is a substantial step up in competition. Amanda Cooper, she is a very, very well-rounded fighter. And, yeah, Mackenzie Dern has elite jiu-jitsu. However,
her stand-up is trash.
She struggles in other areas. I wouldn't say it's trash. She looked competent, but this is going to be a tough fight for her. Is this a case of the UFC doing too much too soon, pushing her too fast? I kind of think it is. I'm going to go Cooper.
On paper, you look at it and go, record doesn't show somebody who is that elite. But then you go look at the people she's fought, and then you go look at her actually fighting. Holy crap, this girl is a tough girl, and she brings it every time and leaves it out there on the mat, right there in the octagon. I'm going to go with Mackenzie Dern on this. I think she's smart.
So you think Dern gets it done?
I think she's just smart. And I think she understands that she cannot stand to bang with this girl. She cannot even entertain staying on the feet or going to the clinch. She's going to try to get on the ground as fast as possible. I think we're going to see a lot of a Dylan Dennis type approach where she pulls guard. Because her wrestling is okay, but it's not good enough to really take people down. So I could see her pulling guard. It's like going for the awesome submission.
This is
weird because at one point we thought this dude could possibly compete for a title.
Well, some people did.
Some people. I know for a while I was kind of on that hype train. But then I didn't I didn't know where else he could go besides knocking people clean out of hell.
Yeah, I've always thought Lineker was a talented guy. He's another guy that's had weight issues, could never quite fully grasp that. Now he has, to be fair, he has in the last few fights, done a whole lot better and seemed to have maybe got that under control, but he's never been able to get past that serious contender stage that he was at for a while. Kind of had a couple setbacks. Brian Kelleher, on the other hand, is on a hot streak. He looks incredible. He looked fantastic in his win over Renan Barao, but I'm going to go Lineker. I like Lineker.
I'm going to go... you know what? I'm not making a pick.
Okay.
I will make a pick on our show because this one's too hard because I don't think John Lineker is the same John Lineker. I think he's on the downswing of some things because he seemed like the type of dude who was just really, really confident in himself. Mm-hmm. And after you lose the way he did to TJ Dillashaw, are you ever really able to gain that confidence back and believe that you can be a top guy? Unless you have a more realistic approach. Michael Chandler was talking about it actually on the Joe Rogan podcast. Mm-hmm. And I think that same kind of mentality, if you're that kind of confident of a guy and cocky and, it gets you very far, but after you lose, are you able to come back?
How about the last fight, the first fight on the main card, the last fight we're going to talk about, Machida and Belfort. This is actually a decent little fight, I think. Vitor's not the Vitor, and Machida is not the Machida. However,
can we both give him TRT?
I don't. Yeah, I think I know Belfort was on it, and I think Machida might have been.
He was on something.
Too, yeah.
Let's give it to both of them for this last fight.
It's gonna be fun, I think, because this is in Brazil, and they are gonna go batshit crazy for both of these guys.
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun.
I still think Machida's got a little something to offer. I think he's gonna beat Belfort.
I think he's going to be Belfort too, unless someone could sneak some TRT.
Yeah, we'll see. How about you mentioned Chandler on Joe Rogan? I wanted to touch on that briefly too, man. Michael Chandler is a very smart dude. He is into sports flow, sports psychology a lot. You got to see that if you watched the Joe Rogan podcast yesterday with him. I believe it was the MMA number 25 episode.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff, man. Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing, and it was very interesting to see his mindset change because I've been around athletes my whole life. I have an older brother who's a professional basketball player. I have a younger brother who's trying to be. I was attempting to be a professional fighter. Didn't go my way. I wanted to be a collegiate wrestler. So sports psychology has always been interesting to me. And to see a guy openly admit how he had to change his mindset in fighting to really see, when you see fighters really open up and share the kind of things that they're going through after a fight, especially talking about not winning for 680 days.
Yeah.
That is a big deal. A lot of people don't understand that. When I can remember my first win today in wrestling, I got my hand raised and I was addicted. You couldn't take that away from me. Mm-hmm. I could not imagine going 680 days and not win. If I'm a competitor, if I was still competing, that would drive me nuts. You would, and for the fact that he was able to get through that.
Yeah, I think that was necessary for him.
Oh, I think it is, and I think it makes him now the most scariest man alive. I don't know
about that, but he's scary. He's up there.
I think he is. I think he's one of the scariest dudes out there for the simple fact that I didn't used to think that. I honestly used to think that he was good, but after his losses to Will Brooks, I was like, I don't think he could really compete in the top level of UFC guys right now.
Do you think he ever competes in the UFC?
I think he does.
Now let me ask you this. Today, so not 2 years from now, but today, how good do you think Michael Chandler is? If he went to the UFC, where do you see him? Where would his peak be?
I think he could be a champ.
Really? Okay, so let's play that game. Does he beat Khabib? Because that's the guy. So Michael Chandler beats Khabib, you think?
I think his wrestling is good enough to keep it on his feet, and his striking has gotten very good to the point where I think he can piece him up.
Wow. So you think he's the best lightweight in the world?
I think. Well, also styles make matchup. I don't think he'd beat Tony Ferguson.
Really?
So because Tony Ferguson is tricky off his back, and he's very crazy. I do think he would have a tough fight against Eddie Alvarez because Eddie Alvarez
They've already had tough fights.
Yeah. I think he would beat Dustin Poirier, but I don't necessarily know if he would beat Kevin Lee. So the lightweight division is really just about matchups.
Oh, yeah, all fighting is, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think he'd beat Conor, but I think Conor would beat a lot of other guys, and then who would beat Michael Chandler?
Yeah.
So it's very complicated, but I think if he gets in the UFC at the right time versus the right person, he can be champ.
Yeah, I don't know if he beats Khabib, but I think he could beat Tony. I think he would beat Poirier. I don't know if he'd beat Gaethje.
I don't know if he'd beat Kevin Lee.
I think he'd wipe the floor with Lee.
Really?
I think he's a better wrestler and a better striker. So what is Lee gonna do?
I think Kevin Lee would.
He's gonna try to wrestle him. He's gonna realize, fuck, I can't do nothing to that dude.
Correct.
And then he's gonna strike with him, and he's gonna realize, holy shit, Chandler's powerful and fast.
So I'm thinking about that with Khabib. How the fuck does Khabib fuck with him?
Way better.
Very good wrestler, and wrestling size matters to an extent.
If
size,
this is true, but
size matters to an extent.
That's also only true if you're talking about levels of experience too. If you're talking about an elite guy and an elite guy, and there's a size difference, then that size difference gets nullified quite a bit.
I don't see Khabib taking down Michael Chandler. I just don't.
Oh, I think I think he could. Whether or not he can keep him down, I don't know.
That's the thing. I think he could take him down. I don't think he could keep him down for any remote reason. And then I kind of think you would see what happened with Ali Quinta, where he's trying to strike with him. And I think Michael Chandler would probably, you want to do this? Okay, we're going to strike then. Because Michael Chandler even said he thinks he's the most violent man in MMA. And honestly, after those two of those Eddie Alvarez fights, I'll say, yeah, he's up there with the most craziest person in MMA.
Yeah.
He knows how to brawl. He will brawl.
Been a huge Michael Chandler fan for a long time. I'm so glad he's finally getting a shine, man. It's way overdue.
So I was a fan, but I never thought he could be a champ in the UFC until after I saw his last fight. Because I just felt, I don't know, I didn't think he hit that, but then I saw his last fight and his stand-up just looked so crisp, and he just looked...
Yeah, he's elite. He's good, man. He's a guy that is elite. So real quick, man, before we go, let's wrap it up here. Per Dana White and many other media outlets here, kind of exciting, man, for UFC 227 happening August 4th in LA. We already know TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt 2 is the main event. However, as I said, per Dana White now, the UFC is trying to make Gustafsson Rockhold 2, and that would be at 205. Who cares, right? But the big one is this. GSP versus Nate Diaz, not Nick, Nate, at 155. Where did this come from? So, yeah.
I like it. I love it. Cool. You know what?
That's a great fight. Are you kidding me? In LA?
I don't ever want to see Nate Diaz fight for a title. Just give him the craziest fun fights we can ever see. That's all I want.
The thing, I'm glad that this is happening, we don't know if it's happening, but I'm glad that this fight possibly could happen around this time, because I think GSP's game is far enough advanced now to where he will not just take him down. He will not just take Nate down and beat him up. He will stand with Nate, and he will prove a point that my boxing may not be as good as yours, but guess what? My jab, he's going to fight behind his jab he does, and he's going to prove, not to me, not to the people that know the sport, but to the casual asshole, he's going to prove, hey, this fucking guy can strike. And don't get me wrong, if he needs to, he's going to take him down and beat him up. That's what I don't like about this, is that at any time, if GSP feels that he is in trouble, he can take Diaz down, and there's not a fucking thing that Diaz can do about it.
You know what? Here's the crazy thing. Is this a crazy theory? Could GSP become a champion at 155? I'm just saying. Could Khabib beat him?
I don't know, but to tell you what, everybody's talking about Conor and Khabib in Russia. How about George and Khabib in Russia? Right? How about that?
Oh my God. That's the fight right there. Because I don't think Khabib could beat GSP.
No. If GSP can get down to 155, because as I was telling you before we started, he is not a big 170.
No.
He's only 5'10", 5'10 and a half, so he's not even 6 foot. Listen, there's guys that are 6'3" making 145. And yes, you brought up that he's got a very wide shoulder base, a la Phil Davis. He does. However, he is a lean guy, and he does the weight thing correctly. He mentioned getting up to 185 almost killed him.
Yeah.
He can get down to 155 healthy, and listen, as I said, if he was coming up in the sport right now, if we never knew a GSP, and also there's a 19-year-old Canadian GSP that's bursting out of the scene, his size, his skill, he would be fighting at 155. But where we were at the sport when he came out 20 years ago, 18 years ago.
There was no 155 pound.
No, there was a 155-pound division. However, there was places to fight at that weight. However, you didn't cut that much weight back then. It wasn't the thing. The culture has changed. You know what I mean?
I think that's due to a lot of wrestlers coming into the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Wrestlers are psychos, so
absolutely.
So they're just like, oh, you're gonna weigh that, dude. I'm gonna be 200 pounds to get down to 170. Let's do this.
And then it's a competition thing, you know. So it's like you always think you can cut more weight, and
GSP goes down to 155, beats Nate Diaz. I think that's definitely a conversation of, hey, let's see if he can become a champ again, and let's say he wins the champ, 3-time world champion George St. Pierre.
That'd be incredible, huh?
I'm gonna say it. He is that makes him the greatest fighter of all time, because not only
a lot of people think he already is.
I think he is, but not only has he won a belt in the 170-pound division, not only has he in 185, not only has he beaten everybody from the old generation, the new the kind of like I'm talking about old generation, Matt Hughes, all them, BJ Penn. Then he beat the Carlos Condons, the Johnny Hendricks, the Damian, the Nick Diaz's of the world. Then he goes and beats Michael Bisping, who we can consider in the mid-generation or new generation. Then he goes down to 155 and then whoops the daylights out of the new generation.
Seriously.
Yo, he is the greatest of all time. I don't care what anybody says. And I hope we get Rush back. I don't want George St. Pierre at once. I want George Rush St. Pierre breakdancing in there after he just knocked him clean out with some craziness. Because that jab is amazing.
Yeah, he does have the best jab. Man.
Who was just John Danaher was talking about it. He goes, that time off made him a killer. Because now he's sitting on his jabs. He's sitting on his hooks, working with Freddie Roach. His jiu-jitsu is legit now. Not just, prevention jiu-jitsu. He might be heel hooking motherfuckers in there.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I don't think Khabib wants to take him down if he's been heel hooking motherfuckers.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up, guys. We are the guys from the Did You See That Shit podcast. We appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe. Do all that shit. We'll be back next Tuesday with another live episode, right?
Yep, and we're going to heel hook motherfuckers.